All right, in New York State of Mind now with some stories from the Empire State. And let's start with a book that's generating some buzz. It is called The Contender, and it is all about Governor Andrew Cuomo. Now, in the book, it details, among other things, his marriage, divorce from Kerry Kennedy, as well as some details about his strained relationship and controlling ways with the Kennedy clan. You go through this book, Dom, and it makes it pretty clear that the Kennedys no fans here. They believe that, you know, he only wanted to be with the Kennedys when there'd be a photo op here, and when it wasn't, he wanted to be as estranged as possible from this. There was some specific instances they cite. One Kennedy went on record for this. A lot of people did background apparently, but wouldn't give comments. I know Cuomo don't like it, but it fits, whether it's fair or not. It fits the narrative for those who know him even a little bit, that it's his way, that's the only way, and he didn't care if he's making friends in the process.
Well, the book is accurate, and the reason why I can say that, because I can tell you firsthand that the Kennedys were not a fan of Andrew Cuomo, even though Kerry was married to him. We've both had conversations with her, and I mean, I won't reveal private comments, but I mean, it got nasty. It got really, really, really nasty between those two. The governor, perhaps First Lady Matilda Cuomo should have given him a few more timeouts when he was coming up, because like Giuliani, there's no other way to say this. He just doesn't play well with others. It's his way or get out, period.
You know what's interesting? It hasn't hurt him, at least up until this point, because he runs it his way, people get in line. Compare that to some of the fiascos we saw with Patterson and even before him, some of the other guys. His ways worked for him, at least in the governor's office, certainly in the AG's office, and I think he learned lessons from the failed gubernatorial run and whatever else, but there's not a lot of love within Democratic circles for him, that he's done a lot of favors for a lot of guys, which isn't typical for somebody who wants to create a power base, right?
Yes, but he is somebody who's trying to appeal to the people, and then it goes back to what you originally said, is that you know, he's a guy who executes, who can govern, who could move the state forward. If you're a supporter of his and you're somebody close to him, that's what you would say. If you're in politics and you're in the Democratic Party, you'd say he hasn't been the most loyal Democrat to the members of the party and supporting other members of the party and going out and campaigning and doing all the different things that party members are supposed to do. But, you know, he has, in defending him, he has, you know, paved his own way. He's created his own path. He's his own man. You know, when you marry into the Kennedys, you could easily be, you know, sucked into that vortex that exists, you know, for the Kennedys. But, you know, maybe he didn't want to be in that situation. That's a very personal scenario. Yep. Now, you can't take what the book is saying as being all truthful, but if you do look at it in the light most favorable to the author, and you agree that some of this might be truthful, here's a guy who just doesn't want to necessarily be a Kennedy. He wants to be a Cuomo, and that's something to that.
And you know, Andrew, if you just think between his own book, this book, the passing of his father and all the attention as to their complicated relationship, people still don't know who he is. And if you think about this, he's been in the public light here really since his early 20s, when he ran the campaign, right, Dom? I mean, he ran the campaign, and including with some really sharp elbows. But it's amazing we can be as where we are right now, and there's so little of him that the public then wrap their arms around, with the exception of the competency aspect, that the state runs, and he gets everything to run on time. And that's enough. But still, people don't know who he is.
Well, I think it leaves people trying to figure out what his motivation is for the things that he's doing. Is it a family comparison? Is it for the best interest of the party? Is it for the best interest of the state? Progressive ideology or conservative, depending on whether you're talking about policy
or social,
right, fiscal or social. I think it's ironic because he's well known as being a good campaigner, which is a long-term strategic sort of process. But he doesn't seem to treat governance the same way. Governance, it seems like it's one issue after the other, with no thought to the long-term nature of the relationships that build that governing coalition. You can make the argument that President Obama did the same thing and is sort of lilted from one topic to another without keeping in mind that you need your cache of friends around you if you're going to try to get anything done once you're in office.
In terms of where he is right now, Brad, take a look at some of the numbers. There's a bunch of them, but I'll mention a couple. These both from Siena. And they're pretty telling. 54% of New Yorkers say that Governor Cuomo should separate his ethics reform plan from his budget. And we all know he said, either you give me the ethics here or I'm going to shut the thing down. And 4 out of 5 New Yorkers want state employee emails retained for more than 90 days, which again is what the governor proposed. State currently purges them after 3 months here. And there's other numbers as well. It's interesting because nobody can sustain 70+ approval ratings, but he's picked some fights, education being among them, or he's on the losing side on these public fights. And with as public as the Moreland Commission is, or was, they don't even like his remedy as to how he's going about doing it. He's always been one step ahead of the legislature. Is there a chance that, he could be playing catch up here?
Well, first of all, some of these polls are complete garbage. The technical aspects of the budget and whether people would agree that he should attach ethics to the budget or not. I'm telling you something, 99.9% of the people don't understand what the heck that even means.
Yep.
And I'm sure that poll is completely off center. People understand ethics in general. People understand education in general. And the governor, at the end of this budget, at the end of this session, is going to be able to tout that he's done some great things in education.
But he wants to take over. He wants the state to take over the city schools, and de Blasio ain't going to go quietly in the good night.
That's a finger in the eye at de Blasio. That's what that is. Come on. The mayor wants control of his schools, okay, and now the state wants control of the city schools. This is just a fight between charter schools and public schools, and the UFT and the teachers unions and all those supporters who really put the screws to Andrew during the election. And he had that, he had that hostage video that he had to make to the Working Families Party.
To that end, Dom, you don't got a lot of Democrats that are going to walk through fire for this guy, okay? Because he's helping out always number one. With that much we know. But they're afraid of him, which is probably even more valuable. However, I could make the argument that he's overplaying his hand right now. And he's trying to get away from this ethics reform here by blaming everybody else. And Democrats, even more than Republicans, Democrats are livid as to how they feel they're being thrown under the bus by the governor.
But if you're Andrew Cuomo, to be frank with you,
do you care?
What do you care what they think? You're the governor. You were just reelected. And I contend that it's a good thing to tie ethics reform to the budget. I love the point that you made. We can't pay attention to half of these polls. The surveys, samples are off. They're biased. You don't know who they're talking to. If you're the governor, what do you care what you were elected, quote, to lead? What do you care what the Democrats have to say?
I agree with you both about the polls, but just look at Chris Christie as being a lesson in caution on this. You can bully around the people in your own party. You can bully around lawmakers all you want until the Bullying Act doesn't work anymore, and then you got no friends behind you.
Until you got a big problem like a bridge.
Cuomo's much smarter than Christie. Cuomo's not going to jump in your face and want to fight.
You would have said that before Moreland Commission. You would have said that before Moreland. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much here. When we come back on the other side of the break, I had a really interesting on-site interview with a top historian who's going to explain how, of all places, Newburgh, New York was a pivotal point in American history when it came to the Revolutionary War.